Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of FFS. We're on episode 4 already. But yeah, for everyone new here, this is a podcast where Asta and I share all the thoughts that keep us up at night and make us giggle during the day. I'm Vishwata, logging in from Houston, Texas.
And I'm Asta logging in from Chandigarh, India. So, Vish, let's get all caught up for friendship's sake.
So yeah, what are we talking about today?
So, as we're recording this, Mother's Day is still coming up, but by the time this episode is going to be live, Mother's Day would have passed. So, a very, very happy Mother's Day to everybody who celebrated. I hope you did something fun. Vish, aren't you with your mom on Mother's Day after a few years now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a mother's month, to be honest. She's visiting me, so it's really fun. We're getting a lot of mom and daughter time after pretty long because even when I go to
Yeah,
India, there's so much to do, but here it's just the
absolutely,
two
for
of
sure.
us. Yeah, so it's been great. Just binging on TV shows and going out and trying new places to
So,
eat and traveling. And yeah.
I love that. Do you have any special plans for Mother's Day?
Not really a special plan, but we'll be traveling that week. So I think it'll be fun going around.
That's amazing. I'm not
Yeah.
with my mom this year, so that reminds me I should order her a little something to let her know I'm going to be thinking of her that day, every day. We both are fortunate enough to have great relationships with our mothers. I don't think my mom is my best friend because she's my mom. I don't think I can compare that relationship to any other relationship because that won't be fair. But truth be told, that hasn't always been the case. When I was a teen, my mom and I did not get along at all. I think I was her worst nightmare. Everything everything she said and did back then, I thought was absolutely wrong. She was against me in my head. She was my number one enemy. But I guess that subsided as I grew older. And when I moved to the US and started living away, and then started thinking about getting married and having my own family and stuff like that, is when I realized how much she has impacted me, and not just by the things she said and done for me, but just how she's conducted life in general, whether it's how she's managed the house or, I remember, Vish, did you have a plaque in your kitchen that said, yes, my mother was right, or something like
Yeah.
that?
She was right
Right?
about everything she said.
When I got married last year, in one of the functions, I made a little speech that was dedicated to both of my parents. But for now, I'm going to pretend like it's for my mom. Sorry, Papa, if you listen. I'm very sorry. But all my life, my mother has been at this exact distance away from me, with pom poms in one hand and a toolkit in the other. And somehow that distance that she's been at has been close enough that I can hear her cheering me on whenever something good happens in life. But the distance is also short enough that she can cover it really quickly and be by my side whenever a faux pas happens. And trust me, it happens. So, back in school, when we wrote essays on our moms, I'm sure you must have written it too. Like, my mom is my hero. My mom cooks the yummiest food, etc. I don't think I understood the true meaning of it and the true strength of those very simple words until I grew up,
Right.
right? What do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting that you said your mom's not your friend because she's your mom, which is
Yeah.
absolutely true. But in my case, I think I've always like you won't believe when I was a teenager, there was a phase where I used to be envious of my mom because my friends would come home and spend more time with her than me. Right? So it was
My friends do that now, and it's very irritating.
yeah, like now I guess like I've matured and evolved to a stage where I understand that it's great that that's happening and my
Yeah,
friends could just like call her up and talk to her or go home and meet
yeah,
her when I'm not around.
absolutely.
But there was a phase where I used to get jealous, where I used to be like, don't come hang out with us and things like that. And that, but now I understand how much it made a difference because
Yeah,
in a lot of cases it was also like some of my friends would tell my mom things they wouldn't tell their own moms. Because they're like, she's chill, like she'll understand and things like
Yeah.
that. And so I don't know. I mean, yes, she's my mom, but she's also my best friend. And I think the
I love
ability
that.
to be the ability to be able to
Yeah.
share everything. And I think that also stems from the place that she's always been in this zone where she's like, let's agree to disagree on certain things, right? And I appreciate
Yeah.
that so much because I feel like, yes, she's the one who taught me all my core values and ideals and all of that, right? But as I grow, she's always been cognizant of the fact that I'm my own person. And
Absolutely.
and we don't have to be the same people and believe in the exact
Yeah.
same things. So she's like,
Yeah.
as long as I know you're safe and you're doing well for yourself and your mental health and physical health is good, I'm going to let you be your own person. And there are
Yeah.
things that I don't think is right, or you might not think what I'm doing is right, but we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the core of any healthy relationship. Other thing that like always fascinates me about her is how effortless she is about everything she does. I always tell her that I don't know if I can be half the mom that you've been, all the things you've juggled and
Yeah.
things like that. But
Yeah.
it's all effortless. It's now that I've grown and I'm seeing my friends becoming moms, potentially me becoming a mom one day, and I'm thinking about these things. She's never talked about it. She's always, made it
Just done
seem
it.
so chill and simple
Yeah.
and all that. So I
Yeah.
think when I think of my mom, those are the two big things that pop up in my head.
Absolutely. I think it is truly a privilege to have a good relationship with your mother, to have a mom who loves you, accepts you just for who you are, and more than anything, gives you the space to be the person you want to be. So, touch wood. And I think because this relationship in my life has been so positive, I am somebody who does want to be a mother when and if that is something that's in the books for me and is possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say that, I think I am making a choice.
Okay.
I don't think that it is my duty to be a mother. I don't think that it's the only next step for a girl. It is for me because it's a choice I'm making. But I know a lot of other people don't either have that choice or don't think about it like that. What do you have to
Hmm.
say about that?
Of course, I think, I mean, whatever said and done, and however we're seeing the fact that the world is changing, the society is changing, in a lot of the cases, it's still like seen as the next milestone, right? It's
Yeah,
seen as the next, and like after getting married, which itself is seen as a milestone. And then comes this. But you're right. I mean, I'm glad the world is in a place where it's moving towards the couple making the choice, deciding if that's what they
yeah,
want.
yeah,
And other choices around becoming a parent, like it doesn't have to be a child you give birth to. Adoptions
absolutely.
becoming a choice. So I just love the fact that all of these things are becoming more normal. Again,
Yeah,
we have a long way to go. But
yeah,
the fact that we're able to have these conversations, we're able to talk about it in a public forum, there are people advocating one or the other, talking about the pros and cons of both. I love that.
absolutely. I think for the longest time, we didn't, and even today, we barely have all the information that is needed to go on a journey like motherhood, right? Only recently, because forums like, for example, Tweak is one of the forums that's come up in India in the last few years that tends to talk a lot about things like um, 25 things women want to say without, mothers want to say without
Hmm.
being cancelled, was one of their articles that I just saw recently. But only through these forums have I started hearing the terms postpartum depression, baby blues, that breastfeeding isn't just a natural thing that happens to everyone. It is difficult for some and natural for others. And so many other so many other topics that are now spoken about. So more than anything, I think it takes so much emotionally, mentally, and it's such a long commitment, lifetime commitment rather, that if you don't make it with the right information and after considering everything that needs to be considered, forget messing up your own life. You're going to be messing up a new life for no
Yeah.
fault of that child, you know?
Yeah. And that's where this whole idea of when you spoke about postpartum specifically, I feel like a lot of women don't know about it. A lot of women going through pregnancy
Yeah,
don't know about it, but also their families, the partner, they don't know about it. So the fact that it's such a common, normal, effect of pregnancy that most women go through, that somehow people don't know, is bizarre, to be honest. And I think a lot of the glorification also stems from that place, because
yeah,
what happens is, and I've seen that through and through in our movies, pop culture, media, universally, right? The mother's love is glorified so much, and there's no
yeah,
denying that a mother's love is super special and super like important.
absolutely.
But
But
the fact,
I'm
go
going
ahead.
to stop you there. Today I read something online, a report or an article, because I was
Mm-hmm.
researching for the episode, that said
Mm-hmm.
more than 20% of new parents might not feel emotionally attached to their newborns immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's possible? Isn't
Yeah.
it supposed to be like you spend 9 months waiting for this child, you're all excited, and that isn't that supposed to be how it is? But apparently it's not, and I was shocked.
Yeah, isn't that what the movies have taught us?
Yeah,
Yeah. But I also think, I mean, it's still a new person, right? You're meeting for
yeah,
the first time. And it doesn't
absolutely.
have to feel the same for everyone. Like there are some people who might feel emotionally attached right away. There are some people who go through a phase to start love, like inherently you're loving the baby, but to feel familiar, to feel attached, it might
Yeah,
take some time, right?
yeah,
And I feel women themselves, like one of my friends just had a baby about a year ago, and she was talking to me about her postpartum and how she was only able to actually enjoy spending time with the baby after like 5 months of giving birth.
yeah,
Until then it just felt so stressful, because
yeah,
and I don't want to trivialize it, but I feel like with any new experience that's the case, right? I mean,
yeah,
I've not been a mom, I don't want to trivialize it, but I feel like, be it a career switch, or be it getting married, or be it a geographical change, it takes a while, right? It's just, you have to give
I
yourself
think,
that time to get used
yeah,
to things. And with this whole extreme glorifications, women don't get that space, I feel.
yeah. If you even look at the conversation that we've been having for the last, 10 minutes, you'll see that we've spoken a lot about the child, the effect on the child, bringing a
Yeah.
new life. But one of the things that is really interesting, and I think that's what we're trying to highlight with this episode, is how much of motherhood is portrayed to be about the child, whereas it should be about the mom as well, because she's new to this role as well. And
Yeah.
say
And
if somebody has a baby, right, what would the first question be? How's the baby? Is the baby healthy? And I saw somewhere, seriously, kudos firstly to Instagram, because some of the reels are very enlightening. But that spoke about how the first question that you should actually ask is, how's the mom? Is she doing okay? Because this is the baby, of course, is had everybody doting on him, including doctors taking care of them. After I saw that reel, I don't know why, but in my head, I made a resolution that every time somebody says that, oh, this person's given birth, my first question will be, how's the mom doing?
yeah,
And then
no,
obviously second, followed by how's the baby doing? I think it's incredible how little we speak about the mom coming into a new role. that she has no idea how it's going to be. Even if it's her second child, the child, like you said, is a completely new person. You don't know if that child is going to behave like the first child you had or some other child you saw grow up. You have no idea. It's completely new.
Yeah. I mean, parents are born too every time a child is
Yeah,
born.
yeah.
So, and I keep having this conversation with my parents because there's always like a little bit of back and forth. You could have done this at this point. I could have done that. So, but to be fair, now that I'm at this stage where I see people around me getting married, having
Hmm.
children, just thinking about these things, there are so many questions. And that's exactly why we're doing this episode, right? The fact
Yeah,
that this is such a normal thing for late 20, early 30-year-old to like be talking about.
yeah,
I feel like parents, moms should have the space to make mistakes because that's also their first time doing this
yeah,
and learn as they go. And
absolutely.
that's also where this pressure sets in because I've seen, again, I think media and movies and pop culture and literature and all of this has a huge role to play in this, that like a mom's sacrifice is glorified so much, from the small cliche of if she cooks food, she's going to give you all the best food that's there and have dinner with whatever's left over, right? And
Yeah,
I'm not saying only moms do it, or I'm not saying I would do it sometimes if I'm the host and I'm giving the good stuff to the guests, and yeah, but it's different when it's
yeah,
one random day versus if it's every day, and if that's the
yeah,
expectation, right? um
absolutely.
it's such a big expectation that it's a norm that women have started to believe that that's how they have to behave just because they're moms.
Absolutely. When you look at being a mom as a duty, you're ignoring your own capacity, whether you're mentally ready for something like that. I've just been spending a few weeks with my nephew,
Mm-hmm.
and my brain every alternate day goes like, "You're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready." Not because I don't love the child. I love the child, but I can see what it takes
Mm-hmm.
to raise a 1.5 year old or a 2 year old. Just mentally, physically, everything. I can see the amount of effort my sister-in-law is putting in. I'm like, wow, you are like, I'm not ready for this, you know? That because I'm somebody who does again want to be a mom, I I started sort of making note of things that I need to prepare for. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you spoke about the mom sacrifice and stuff. When I think back, my mom, I'm sure, made a lot of tiny everyday sacrifices while she was raising me, right? But one thing I'm glad she didn't sacrifice, in my case specifically, is her career. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people could have said, when you're a mom, you should put your career on the back seat and do XYZ, and that has its own pros. For me, the fact that my mom didn't give up on her careers for our sake meant I could have a great life because she took into consideration the economic conditions that we came from. It meant that when I grew up, she could be a guiding light for me for my career. I mean, what do you call a sacrifice? It can be a sacrifice now, but can also be an investment for the future for later,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I mean, there are two things, right? One is something like career, um versus the sacrifice sometimes could even mean losing your sense of self. And
Absolutely.
that could be, yes, losing your career, but it could also be not being able to cook your favorite meal one day of the week, right? And
I don't think
always
any,
prioritizing the family and the kids and all of that.
yeah, I don't think any mom knows what her favorite dish is.
It's a
Like,
rarity, and
right?
now, yeah, and now, like now I think as children, like me and my brother would enjoy taking her out, giving her
Yeah.
what she wants. And now even my parents, I feel like after they've become empty nesters, they've started doing it more often
Yeah.
because now they're able to prioritize themselves. But I think
Absolutely.
as you spoke about career, I feel like the pressure to have it all is also something that we struggle with, right? Because I think this is a conversation that I was having with my mom, and she was telling me that, I can kind of see how it's a little different for you guys. That, yeah, my mom's worked all her life, and, she has a career and she enjoys doing what she does. But for her, like getting married, having a child and all of that felt very normal. It didn't feel like not to say normal, it felt like the right next thing to do,
Yeah,
right? That's how the journey was supposed to be. There were no options, choices, or she didn't even know it could be an
yeah,
option. So I feel like it's a little different for us. And that's where she was like, I didn't ever think about, do I have to choose? My mom took a break when we were really young, and then she went back to her job, and that's how it worked out
sure.
for her. But
Mhm.
now, as much as I love my career and I want to become a mom, I constantly see these statistics about how, women lose out on career growth. Because of this percentage, because they take a maternity break. People like don't offer
Yeah.
them jobs before the break. They don't offer promotions during the break. Then they're like, now you've lagged behind 2 years because your male counterpart has, got that promotion and moved. So this
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
What do you feel about that? How do you you know make a sense of this whole like scenario where it seems like things are equal, we've
Yeah.
reached equality, but well, you know what it is.
I don't think we can reach equality. We can aim for equity, yes, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we can reach equality because at the end of the day, it's the woman's body that's going through all of those biological
Mm-hmm.
changes for 9 months. There are women who have really difficult pregnancies and they might not be able to show up to work, but that that woman's partner will still be able to show up to work.
Yeah.
So where's the equality? Right? That's not biologically possible, at least in this
Say
case.
it louder,
Um,
because the number, I feel like, and we all know this, right? But sometimes what happens is I hear people saying, like, in a corporate setup, in like urban cities, there's no difference because
How? A man can't breastfeed. What are you talking about?
right, like I think because they see, like, men see women and other genders go through the same process in terms of, oh, you're in the same class as me, oh, you're applying to the same job as me, or you're in the same office doing the same role, and I know this job was posted for
Yeah,
this salary. But I mean, yeah, things have improved, and thankfully, but there are still things that are different, right?
but
I just want to quote this one thing that I heard Twinkle Khanna say long, long ago, right? And it always stayed with me. So she was saying how I think she was going for an award ceremony or something like that, or her book launch, or one of those things.
yeah,
Super important thing for her, and she was like, my I was getting ready, and my cook came to me and she was like, "What should I make for dinner today?" And she was like, can't you see that I'm like getting ready to go to this big
yeah,
event? My husband is just chilling in the next room watching TV. Why can't you just go ask him? And that's when she was like, you know what? I see so many of my counterparts, other authors, talk about how they wake up, go to the park, get inspo, come back, read the newspaper, and then they sit and write. And that's when I realized what I'm lacking is a wife. So
yeah. I remember hearing this.
yeah, and it was so interesting because even when today things have changed, men have started doing more things, be more,
Yeah,
partners who share chores and things like that. But still, what she was trying to say is, even if they're doing the chores, the planning still is done by the women. Like making
yeah,
sure the kid has the lunch or the kid is picked up, or
yeah,
that even if the dad is the one picking it up, a lot of the times women are the ones calling their partner, like, it's time to go pick them up. Because
yeah,
I think that multitasking and like being aware of all these five different things and juggling
yeah.
some people say come naturally to women, but I
Uh,
also think for the most part it is conditioned.
necessity is the key here. You know, when we decided to do this episode, for everyone listening, disclaimer, we were very nervous to do this because of course neither of us have any lived experiences. So we both went and spoke to a lot of people, and one of the people I spoke to was my sister-in-law. And I was just at touch wood, she has a partner who's very involved. He will stay up at night with the child, he will change diapers, he will do grocery shopping, he will cook. He really tries to be an equal partner. But despite that, she still has 100 tabs open in her head at any point in time, which he does not. Just the mental load and the mental processing. Say, you can ask your partner to make food. Okay, you make lunch, I make lunch, you make dinner. That's sort of the equation. And it looks like it's equal, right? You're sharing. But think about who's going to plan what groceries are needed for that lunch and dinner. Make a list and then make sure that it's got either ordered or, gotten from the store. Just it's in the fridge. Who's going to decide that? It's generally the woman, no matter how hard you try. And even today, and it's also, they said, you'll see kids, infants are a lot more attached to their mothers, especially in the first few months, years, etc. Right? So even today, if she has to go for a bath, she has to time it and be like, okay, from this time to this time, he's going to be napping. So I have like 20 quick minutes to take a shower and come up. Whereas the dad doesn't have to do that. Again, that's biology. It's not because he's not stepping up. The child just doesn't want to go to the father, wants to stay with the mother. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
So,
and I think these are the things that need to be understood, right? More than being like, that's where you cannot be objective and absolute about saying if the mom's
absolutely
spending
not.
12 hours, the dad has to spend the
Yeah.
exact 12 hours. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You just need to understand the emotional and mental load
Yeah.
that a mom has to take. So,
Yeah.
and find other ways to support her, like be it the partner or the family that's living with her or
Yeah.
friends or the organization she works for,
Yeah.
because I think systemically the structure was not built for a 30-year-old working woman, right?
It
It was
wasn't. No.
yeah. So and that is exactly why it's important for companies to change, evolve, understand things are changing. You cannot
Yeah.
be stuck to what was framed a few decades
Yeah.
ago, right?
That's right.
So I think a lot of what we've talked about also stems from the fact that be it maternity leave, paternity leave, and all of this was not built in, because that's not
Yeah.
how the world
Nobody
was a few
knows.
years ago.
Yeah. No one knows what the exact formula for this is because it's not been cracked. I think maybe one in like 100 companies have a good maternity and paternity leave policy. See, I don't know what formula my mother used, okay, when she was raising me. I am pretty happy with how I turned out, in all honesty, but no idea how to replicate that. But now everything's changed, right? There's so much more external stimuli, there's so much more competition. Apparently, you have to register for preschool some years in advance. Really crazy. But all of that sometimes makes me think maybe I should put my career on a backseat for just a little bit of time. Okay, so that I can really spend that time and, engage with my child to make sure that he or she turns out well. But then the minute I had this thought, the following thought is, what if I'm not able to go back as well? And then when the child grows up and doesn't need me as much, I become a clingy mom and an overbearing mom, and then I don't have a good relationship with the child. Like, what if maybe because I'm not engaging that much with the outside world, my exposure reduces and I don't understand my child's thought process or the things my child is into? Like, how will I manage that? It's like the two thoughts come right after each other. And somehow it seems that everybody's judging moms for everything. Have you seen this almond mom thing on Instagram?
No. What's that?
So almond moms are apparently moms that are stuck in this like diet culture or stuff like that, where they won't let their child have, say, Oreos. So today I
Okay.
saw one mom sitting and making Oreos at home because her children have never tried Oreos and she wants them to
Right.
try.
Yeah.
Those moms are being shamed for being so extra. And then there are moms who are, say, feeding their child bread, peanut butter jelly for
Yeah.
breakfast. And they are being shamed because they are not giving healthy food.
Yeah.
She's probably doing her best. You don't know what her financial situation is. You don't know what her mental health is. You don't know if today is just a especially bad day. You don't know if the child is a picky eater. You know nothing. What are you sitting on the
Mhm.
internet and judging for? I don't understand. So
Yeah.
this has happened with me, when I was in school, parent teacher conferences would happen, right? And of course, they'd
Mhm.
happen on working days. So my mom and I would make it a point that we went immediately, like first
Mm.
slot whenever it opens. But there were always moms before us or after us. And my mom would only ask one question: is she doing okay? My grades and everything was great. The teachers would say, yeah, she's fine, don't worry, blah, blah. And she'd get up. So it would be a 2 to 3 minute interaction.
Yeah.
I heard from some of my friends whose moms were all in one little group, a kitty group,
Mhm.
that these moms were shaming my mom because she just came, spoke for 2 minutes, and left and didn't actually go to every individual teacher for every subject and sit
Mm.
with them and talk about like the coming year and the syllabus and this and that. I was scoring in the top ranks. What are you judging my mother for?
No, but I think, see, it also comes down to the fact that, I mean, I feel like it's okay even if you weren't scoring that well, and that's all your mom wanted to ask. Because I feel like she also knows you as a child outside of school.
Y-
And as long
Yeah,
as someone confirmed that you're doing okay, both academically, emotionally, everything, while you're in
yeah,
school, it's fine. And that's what her parenting style
exactly.
is. So,
Exactly. So if we think about the timeline of when you ideally would have kids, would be between say late 20s and early 30s, right? That 10-year
if
phase
you want
probably.
to.
If you want to, yes, of course. And this is again what people say and what ends up happening. Not you could have a child at 45,
Yeah.
sure. But think about how it coincides with your professional timeline as well. You've just entered the workforce at like 24, 25. You spent the 5 years getting to know the industry, getting to know your job, and get rising up the ranks
Mhm.
to be at a certain level. And then these things, two things that both need a lot of physical and mental engagement from your end, coincide. And for any company to be able to see, I understand that companies will also face a lot of loss if somebody at a higher position or with a lot of responsibilities is not able to give their 100%. So it's not enough to just give this person a maternity leave. There needs to be a whole system created, a whole sort of
Correct.
plan of action created to combat this. But for the mother, like it's so scary. Like, what if I lose my touch? What if things, I mean, all industries right now are rapidly changing.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going back to this?
Yeah,
That's so scary.
it is. In fact, I read this on LinkedIn. So someone was talking about how they decided to give one of their team members a promotion just before she left for maternity leave, right? So promotion comes with a hike. And now what happens is you are paying her higher while she's on maternity leave.
Yeah,
Um and they were just saying how they wanted to do that because irrespective if she was going on leave or not, she's performed well and she deserved that promotion at that
yeah,
stage, at that exact month. But as a
yes,
company, sometimes what happens is, like, yeah, it makes sense to not give that promotion before and wait until they come back because then you're at least paying them while they work instead of paying them while they're on leave. So, how
yeah,
do you figure this out, right? I mean, I understand we live in a capitalistic world, it's a corporate company, they care about the profits, yes. And that's what everybody is there for. But then
Yeah.
there is also this bit where you're like, are you actually incentivizing the person for what they've done? Because you're giving them promotion for what has
Yeah.
happened before and not for what she's going to do in the future, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just important, like you said, for the entire system to make note of this
Yeah.
and not constantly compare it to what would a male counterpart would have done here.
For
They
sure.
wouldn't have gone on a maternity leave, or I mean, that doesn't make sense. Like you said, it's biology. The world was built like that. And
Since we're talking about this, you spoke about how a male counterpart wouldn't have gone on a maternity leave and would have
yeah,
waited, right? That's
yeah,
how you finish the sentence. Have you heard that phrase? Your clock is ticking.
yeah, of course.
Did you know that for the longest time? I mean, I understand the basic premise of it that your body won't be ready to um,
Mm-hmm.
bear a child and everything, but the actual functioning behind what this so-called clock is, it's something I've learned very recently. I very recently have understood how this whole egg count and things like that
Mm-hmm.
um, actually how this works. So this saying that your clock is ticking has been thrown at every girl possible in once she's 25,
Yeah.
but nobody's explained to us what the hell that means.
Mm.
So it's not always possible to delay childbearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always possible to even do it earlier. I mean, I'm sure everyone's journey to motherhood is very, very different.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm glad that things like egg freezing, um, and of course adoption and stuff is so much more spoken about
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like it somewhere gives you some control back,
Yeah.
right? Instead of just somebody saying, "Oh, your clock is ticking, I have a child." But I
Yeah.
don't know if my partner and I are ready. I don't know if my relationship is ready for something like this. I
And the
don't know
system
if
is
I'm
clearly
mentally,
not ready.
yeah, clearly, and that's too far along until that happens.
Yeah.
But, even financially, am I ready to, like, do I have money to do everything that's needed to buy and spend on everything that's needed to raise a child well?
Yeah.
Like,
And it's
why
such
would I
a
want to go
confusing
ahead?
time to be, I feel like. Because, especially if you're excited to be a mom, right? I feel like,
Yeah.
as you're dealing with that excitement, and I think, and as 20 something year olds, we're talking about this right now without knowing, when we'll have a child. Somewhere in the future, yes. But we don't know. But the thing is, there are so many considerations around it. Health considerations,
Yeah.
family considerations, career considerations. I don't know. I'm just curious. Do you think men our age are also talking about these things? Do these things run in
Nope.
their head?
No, no. No, no, no. I highly doubt it. Men might know that they want to be fathers,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they think about it as much as we do. Like one of the influencers that I follow recently became a mom, and she shared this reel that spoke about how you should prepare yourself to be the person that you want your child to know before you even have your child. So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be somebody who works out 5 days a week or takes just healthier, conscious decisions, do that now. If you want to be a mom who can teach her child to read, you need to start reading and you need to start doing that now. You need to make sure that your body has all the vitamins and the nutrients and blah blah blah. You have to do that now.
Yeah.
So when I think about it, right, it's been 6 months since I got married, but I kid you not, me and this other friend who got married have actually thought through our timeline that okay, we have say X years before we want to
Mm-hmm.
think about having a child. So how much do we want to travel before that? What kind of a career path should we take that won't get greatly disrupted or that will be supportive for us when we reach that stage? Both me and Web have discussed this before we even considered getting married, which is
Mm-hmm.
do we want kids and how many? And a lot of people were like, are you crazy for discussing this now? But I think it's the best thing we did because it even impacted my living situation, you know. I have grown up with my nanny. That's my grandmother because my mom was working. So all day I would stay with my nanny and then my mom would come and pick me up. So I saw how much having that support system of my grandmother around helped my mom juggle everything that she needed to. And that's why that was a key factor in deciding to live with my in-laws. Because I said, okay, I might give up on a little bit here and a little bit there, but few years later, they will be my biggest blessing. So there is so much pre-planning.
Yeah.
I-
Childcare is a whole other ball game, like every day. And especially, I mean, in the US, it's insanely expensive because you don't have that support system around you.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like even in India or globally, things change a little bit, right? Because
yeah,
now, yes, like your nanny was probably home. I grew up with my grandparents too. Like, so there was someone at home. And for the most part, because my mom was also working in a school, she'll be back around the same time I
yeah.
would. So things worked out. But now think about it in the future, right? Say I have a
I don't want
grandchild.
to. Can I say no? I don't want to.
No,
Don't
but
want
what
to
I'm
go
trying
there.
to say is we're all going to have careers, right?
Yeah,
You know, your parents, your mom would probably still be working when you have a child. So
yeah.
things are a little
My
different
mother
moving
claims
forward.
that me having a child will be when she retires. That's her
Well,
grand plan.
plan. Yeah, I hear that a lot because I think like our parents are used to that and they look forward to that.
Yeah,
They're like, I'm looking forward to that stage where I can actually take care of a grandchild. But
yeah,
what I'm trying to say is things are changing. The systems and
yeah,
structures are changing and it's complex.
yeah,
Like one of my colleagues recently was telling me about how it was more economically efficient for them to have had two kids and a single income while she was working. Her husband was at home taking care of the children, and that was more economical than
that's
now
great.
it's a double income household, but they have to pay for three children's childcare. It's so expensive. And that is something that,
Yeah,
doesn't get talked about as much as well, right? What does it take to have a child and give
yeah,
them a good life? Because I feel like as much as I agree with the fact that you'll never be ready, you're never going
yeah,
to be fully ready because you don't know what it is to be a parent. But it's important to feel stable emotionally, physically, financially before you're like, okay, now I'm bringing a
yeah,
new human to the world and like,
yeah,
starting to give
yeah,
them or
absolutely,
fund their lives. Yeah.
absolutely. And as somebody who um had the childhood that I had, I went to a lot of summer camps.
Mm-hmm.
My mom pushed me to do a lot of activities and classes, whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I was privileged to have that,
Mm-hmm.
my ideology is that I would like to give my child more.
Mm.
My ideology in life in general is if I was given a platform at this certain height, I need to take that platform and make it higher. I
Yeah.
don't want to remain there. And if I have enough money to take that platform higher for one child, I'll have only one child.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I want to, I won't have to because I know
Yeah.
I can't be the kind of parent that I would want to be. So that and the other thing is partners, right? The way we saw dads when we were growing up. Of course, I love my dad and I have a great relationship with him. So I'm more of a Tom and Jerry relationship, but it's fine. There are certain things that today I expect my partner to do that like my dad never went to my PTA meetings and I thought that was normal because no one's dad came.
Yeah.
So but now with things changing and with how I see other people maybe like half a generation older to us sort of leading by examples, there's things that I think that I would like my partner to be this kind of a father. That like how do you even communicate that? How do you
Yeah. I
even
mean,
understand that?
gender roles themselves are not
Yeah,
as prominent anymore,
Yeah.
at least in my setting. And I don't want to
Yeah.
generalize it. I know
Of course.
families where gender roles are still, the same way. And like you
Yeah.
said, right? We see men our age around us doing things that our dads never did. And
Yeah.
it's normal. That's how it should be. That's what progress is. So
Yeah.
you're right. And I feel like, again, like it goes back to the same thing that I was talking about, how for my mom, or a lot of people in her generation, a lot of women saw this as a norm. This is how things are. This is what the
Yeah.
mom does. This is what the dad does. But
Yeah.
today, that's not how we look at life, because you and I are doing a lot of things our dads did. So, I guess it's just the exposure that our parents have given us, the
Yeah.
education, and
Yeah.
and also that's the same thing the men, our counterparts, also received. So obviously there's an
Yeah.
expectation for them to
Yeah.
up their games. Of course, upbringing plays a huge role, and how your family and your parents receive change plays a huge role. Like some simple things, like say you see gender roles being broken down on a TV ad, or on a show, and you're sitting and watching it with your parents. How they react makes a big
Yeah.
difference,
Makes a
right?
huge difference.
So I think, yes, there is a large role that parenting plays, but
Yeah.
as an adult, you cannot keep talking about how
Absolutely.
you can never say, this is the trauma I had, or this is the upbringing I had, and this is who I am today because of that. Yes, I understand. But if you've not taken any step to come out of it, or to learn different, educate
Yeah.
yourself, then it's your fault,
Yeah.
right?
At some age, you have to become your own person and unlearn and learn things that or deal with any sort of not pending, sorry, that was the wrong word, but deal with any trauma or learn to manage that you might have had in your childhood. But that also gets me even when you were saying that, what was going on in my head. What if I have a son and I have to teach him all these things?
You have to, you
Like,
better.
my God, that is
Yeah.
huge responsibility. And the funny thing is, my friend and I don't know what got to us. One day we had started texting each other. If we have a son, we will do A, B, C.
Yeah.
We made a long list. This is what we will teach
Yeah.
them. This is what we will do. And not just a son, even a daughter. Like, if I have a daughter, I will teach her to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
I
there
mean,
is,
huge difference is, how you're being treated, especially when you have, a male sibling in your house, right? And
I wouldn't know, unfortunately,
but
fortunately.
in my case, I'm so thankful there wasn't much of a difference. But even then,
Yeah.
obviously, this whole social construct of I need to keep the girls a little safer, and I
Yeah.
feel a little more freedom with the men. So,
Yeah.
but as you were talking about being boy moms, I've gone crazy on my brother sometimes. I'll have these random thoughts, and I'll be like, I want to make sure you're cooking properly. And he's one of the most mature kids I've seen his age.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Maybe more
and,
mature than I am.
and he does everything he has to, but I will have these wild thoughts, and I'll be like, I don't want you to have a girlfriend and for her to judge me that you were like raised with a sister, and how are you
Yeah.
like not doing this, or how
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, because I know how I'm viewing men my age, right? I would
Yeah.
question sometimes. I'm like, how is this sexist thing a joke? And I never want anyone to think that is my brother.
Yeah.
So I feel that responsibility. I think, and it's good and fair that we're thinking about
Yeah.
these things. We're thinking about
Yeah.
how, because we've seen it, we've been on the receiving end, and it's only
Absolutely.
fair to make sure it doesn't repeat.
I think our time's up. As much as we have a really long way to go, personally, as a society, everything, to even to fully understand the depth and the multiple layers of this topic, I am very, very grateful that you and I share great relations with our mothers. That I think that's great. And I'm also very grateful for the progress that I do see being made, whether it's the acceptance of it's the acceptance of girl child and boy child both being equally celebrated, whether it's men stepping up to try and be equal partners, or it's women understanding the responsibility of raising a girl child and a boy child. For us, that we're able to ask these questions
Exactly.
and make our sort of choices. And just, I think, long way to go, but I really hope we're on the right path.
I agree. I agree. And I like even like being able to have a non-judgmental conversation with a gynae. And
Oh my God, yes.
recently a friend
Yes.
of mine was talking about that to me, and I was like, that is progress. I see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortunately, I haven't been put in a bad situation with a gynae before,
Same. Touch
so
wood.
I'm not
Yeah.
seen it. But I know a lot of
Yeah.
my friends who've gone through it, and I'm like, I'm glad we're at a stage where we can choose to go to the people we feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I want to, use this Mother's Day to celebrate all the progress we've made and just
Yeah.
make sure we keep going on that right track.
I love that. I love that. So, to everyone listening, please know again that all of this is highly personal opinion that have been formed through secondary experiences and things we've heard, said, and seen. And we understand that you could have a completely different opinion or experience to what we've mentioned. And we're really sorry if any of this strikes the wrong chord. And if it does, we'd love to engage in healthy discussions. Message us, email us, leave us a comment, and we'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think the whole idea of doing this episode is to sort of normalize this conversation
absolutely.
as women who would like to consider motherhood or not. These are
Or not.
questions that, all of us have. We want to be aware, we want to be able to talk about this. And that was
Yeah,
the whole idea of this episode. So, yes,
absolutely.
please, comment, message all your thoughts. We'd love to hear that. And thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.
Bye.